Good morning. Good morning to all online out there. Each time we begin our group practice, we read the three refuges. The second refuge is, I take refuge in this practice of pure selfless awareness, wisdom, compassion, and skillful means. I'd like to make some comments about practice. Some of us who've been around for a while, when we go through some difficult experience or some challenge with another person, will say, I don't need any more practice, I've had enough. I've had enough practice. In that sense, it's pointing to the vow is pointing that everything in our life, everything in my life is my practice. How I talk with people, how I behave in public, how I follow through on commitments, how everything in my life is practice. When I recognize some tension in myself, some charge, some emotional charge, that's practice. When I handle that emotional charge, that's practice, or how I handle it. Everything is practice. So it's endless. It never, ever ends. And we all know from our own individual experiences that some of the greatest practice, some of the most reliable practice, I would say, is in relationships, personal relationships. We have the relationships at the office or at the shop or at the wherever, but the most challenging relationship, most challenging practice, most people seem to think, is with their partners, with the people that they share their life with. And God has brought me amazing opportunities to practice in my lifetime, all of which I'm grateful for. And I don't mean to make a big thing out of this. I've been trying to be very conscious to not make a big thing out of my health. As we were just reading the Sutra book today, I was feeling very happy inside because I got a new eye the other day. They lasered off a layer over here and they gave me a new lens and for my glasses, and I can see better now. I don't have to squint when I read. It's not perfect, but it's better. But boy, has that been a practice. And will still be one because it's not remotely perfect. I fell about 5 years ago, and I hit my head, side of my head, and it whacked my eyes out. So I haven't been able to binocularly focus for about 5 years. There's two of you over there. Did you know that? There are. Just look next to you. She's sitting right there. But it's better now, and I'm so relieved because it's been the hardest thing of my life, I think. It means it's hard to read, it's dangerous to drive at night, and so on and so on. So that's an example of practice for me. I've had to find ways to adapt and to compensate and to not make too big a deal out of it, not be a whiner. I've had to learn to ask for help. I've had to learn to when to be quiet about it and just allow things to happen. And that's practice. That's, for me, that's a very good example of practice. And I'm going to give them one more try to improve it, but I think I may be actually able to get better vision with another lens adjustment. But it's wonderful. I wish it were better, but it's not. And it may get better, which would be wonderful. But it's sure better than it was a few days ago. So that's a practice experience. When I went to Milwaukee a couple of months ago, I had to go down for some medical stuff. And I had to have somebody take me, or I chose to have somebody take me there, not only to help me keep track of the medical stuff, but also to drive home, because it was going to be dark, and I don't trust myself. I can get from here to home, but Milwaukee on the freeway, and that was a interesting little practice opportunity. Would you like me to go with you? Somebody said, and first impulse was, no, I got this. And I realized how foolish that was, how selfish that was. So that's more practice. That's more practice. And finally, the last thing I'll say about that, in terms of my health, is I just completed last week and got the official recognition that I'm eligible for a kidney transplant. I went through 2 days of tests and pokes and prods and things, and so now I know I'm on the list, and I'm delighted about that. I feel some fear about that. I have good people in my life who I can talk to about that, and I even watched one yesterday. That didn't make me feel all that good. So my health has been my primary practice in the last few years. So I haven't always been this heavy. I'm this heavy because my kidneys are failing. I haven't had to rely on people to pick me up off the cushion until the last year or so, because I'm just getting too heavy. I can't push myself up as easily. So to ask for help to get off the freaking cushion after all these years, it's a little bit of practice as well. So I've just given up. I just assume I need help. But that's all practice. To learn more about me, learn more about what the blocks in my ego are that would keep me from asking for help or deny my reality. The shadow of denial is powerful sometimes. So this is about me today, but it's really, I think, about all of us. The things that we face in our daily life, and do we face the emotional charges, the emotional difficulties in our relationships skillfully? Do we approach those problems skillfully and with good honesty and open-heartedness? There's never a need. There is no need for conflict and tension if you're open-hearted. And it's also very interesting to have my body doing this to me. I can't even blame it on anything. You know? I said to the doctor at one point, I said, you told me that I was going to die with this condition, and now you're telling me I have to have a transplant. What happened? He says, yeah, things happen. That was his answer. Well, thanks a lot, pal. And things just happen, don't they? People back into us in parking lots, and people are rude and aggressive for no apparent reason. Things just happen. And how you respond to those things is a measure of your practice. There's all kinds of opportunities for practice, all day long. All day long. It's always so noticeable, isn't it? So it has been said often that sitting here on the cushion, sitting in your own practice at home on the cushion is artificial practice. This is where we put the steel. This is where we put put in the work, so that when we go out there and we run into somebody that we judge harshly, or that we feel offended, or that whatever it might be, that's the real practice. To stay focused and present and patient, loving and kind. Thank God the election's over. But that's the real practice is out there in the world. This is relatively easy. Relatively. So I take refuge in this practice of pure, selfless awareness, wisdom, compassion, and skillful means. Anybody got anything?
I think one of the most relieving things I've found is I catch myself now having much more compassion and understanding of everyone and not taking things so personally as I have in the past. Like even when, if someone were to be rude to me before, I would maybe think, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I being talked to like that? Now I'm able to see deeper that it's those things that they're struggling with that is kind of manifesting itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my responsibility not to take it personally, and it's not about me. It's their things that they're dealing with, and it's been very, very freeing, I find. And I was gonna say, and also for helping you and everything, it's been very nice and being able to assist you with anything that you need. So.
And much appreciated. And that's part of the pure selfless awareness, your first half of your comment, that I can just get on you like ugly on a monkey and criticize you and damn you to hell and punch you in the nose. And that has nothing to do with you. Yes?
Mm.
That's about me. And that's a real nice thing to hear. That's a sign of growth. That's not about me. It's not about you. That's about me. And so you will therefore be less reactive toward me. Doesn't mean you won't have feelings. Doesn't mean there won't be a response. But it won't be that sense of what's the matter with you, with me. You understand that, right?
Mm.
It's hard to keep that focus when somebody's climbing down your throat. But that's the awareness we're talking about. Understand? You do that, don't you?
There was an instance in the past that comes to mind where I had said something that could have been, I probably said it and it was insensitive, but the way the person took it was even above and beyond. And I kind of told her, I said, you know, I said it, I acknowledge it, I'm sorry I said it, but for you to continue, that's your choice. You know, it's like we could move past it, it's said, I've acknowledged it, you've told me how you felt, and then their response to that was just to kind of do this, you know. So I try to first be more aware of what I'm saying, so that I don't put myself in that situation again. And then also if things are said to me, I accept the feeling that I'm feeling at that moment, and I'm aware of it, and I process it, and I let it go. So that I'm not reliving it at 3 a.m. and, you know, why did I say that, or why did they do this to me?
Mm-hmm.
I think being aware, processing, accepting, and then moving on.
Very good. You know, the fancy word for that is upaya. If you want to impress your friends. Upaya is translated usually as skillful means. So first of all, with enough practice, when you get all over me, I'm not going to react. not to say there won't be any feeling, but I'm not going to punch you after you punch me, that sort of thing. And then to take the time to reconsider what happened and what was my role. The idea that I am always beyond reproach and that I'm so enlightened and cool that I couldn't possibly offend you, could I? Say no! We sometimes call that Zen disease, that everything is just cool and I'm just above it all. I don't mean me, I mean you. But that's important, to own our stuff, to know ourselves deeply enough to make the apology, to try to mend the fence is important. And then if I continue to beat up on you, that's me. That's all entirely on me.
In the Awakened One's vow, it says, before we react, we will consider deeply our personal and collective karma that brought these conditions and circumstances upon ourselves. Something else that spoke to me. I moved on from my previous paragraph to another.
Yeah, amen. That's an important piece. It says again, this is about me. What is this? What? Something unpleasant, uncomfortable just happened, and what's my role in that?
Right. And sometimes you have a role, and sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, we use I statements.
Oh.
You got it?
Yes.
Don't make me come over there and yell at you. All right, well, those are the ideas I wanted to share today, and now I'd like a bagel. I thought, shouldn't you? Wow.